at least if I have not been tried or tested, there is no basis for you to accuse me of the things that I do. But I already know.
That brings me
that you have already been provided with an opportunity and you have failed. And then secondly, considering the fact that people below the age of 40 constitute 70% of this country's population, and that doesn't include any of us here. If you cannot...
Really?
Of course.
I'm young.
If you cannot meet the minimum expectations of that demographic in the population in the country, and then we're challenging you in terms of what you're doing that is affecting us, our future, and the future of our own children, and you're telling us that what you think you guys can do, that is impossible for those things to happen. My statement is very simple. You cannot, first of all, tell us that that's the best that you can do, and by extension, because you think that you're better than the rest of us, so what you're doing is better than what we can do. It's a bloody lie. And you're supposed to measure your actions and what you're doing on the basis of whether we, as the consumers of what you're producing, we feel that what you're doing is good enough. Your actions have not met the minimal expectations of Nigerians. And if you feel that that's the best you can do, please, Oga, move aside.
I'll take you there. So, on the issue of competence, because that's what you have just said, you brought us back to again. You also have the issue of rights,
measurement of standards. Look at what they
now.
Do.
Exactly. You shocked the Attorney General very recently. Now, he looked at you whilst having a conversation, and he had to ask if you were a lawyer. Why? Simply because you mentioned Chapter 2 of the Constitution. Now, as the number one law officer of the country, how could you take him unawares?
We should first remember that our appointments, which is what we've been talking about, are based on either loyalty to a party or proximity to a person in position, or most of all, and the funniest of all, where we come from, which are parameters that shouldn't even be mentioned in leadership. But that is how we get where we're going. And in those parameters, it makes us pick, or naturally pick, not even the top 12 of what we should have, but about the worst. I'd like to say something. It's funny for a country that probably has the foremost foreigners performing the best in other countries to not be able to even deliver something within a committee in their own country. It's really sad. And I'd never thought, and I've always said this, governance is not a function of age. I had the opportunity of sitting down with a commissioner, and she had a problem with me running for Senate. She said, why didn't I start as local government chairman? And I said, my skill sets do not allow me for an executive position. And she said, you could have started at State House of Assembly. And I said, why? She said, because you need to be mentored by some of us. And I said, okay.
Some of us,
yes,
meaning
including herself.
So I decided to, while she was talking, I typed on my phone and Googled what she had done recently. And what I saw was 6 keke napep she had given out. And I asked, and I said, would you give a keke napep to a son? She said, no, why would I do that? I said, well, you gave 6 to young people in the rural area. If that is the mentorship we're talking about, then I don't want to know. And for me, she took it personal, and she ended up not talking to me that evening because we were at dinner at someone's house. She ended up not talking to me that whole evening. But I knew I had passed the message. I'll be honest with you, the Wilbur brothers who came up with the airplane, do you know what they actually did before they came up with the airplane?
Bicycles.
They repaired bicycles. They will never be known for bicycles. That is what experience should have told you, that they are bicycle repairers. But what we remember them for is building airplanes. So regardless of how you choose to look at things, experience is never a judgment of action. It's never been something that you can look at governance in a way and say, I'll give you an example. Nigeria, sometime in the early 60s, taught Malaysia to plant the oil palm. Today, they are teaching us how to plant the oil
I'm
palm.
making over $5 billion.
Yes,
every year.
it's you see when you see those situations. So what has Nigeria's experience with teaching them taught Nigeria or provided Nigeria financially or with resource? The truth is that we've chosen to stagnate ourselves, and we've stagnated ourselves so much that we've invented some new parameters in democracy which don't exist. You see, we run on the assumption that we run a democracy. First, we do not. I will tell you, I've never been a proponent of state police, and there's a reason why. It is not because I don't think community policing is not key, but I understand the powers accrued to a governor in Nigeria and the fact they control their state house of assemblies. Giving them state police will turn them. You call them gods now? Nah, come on.
I think we already have an example when you look at the state electoral commissions as well.
Yes, you already see that they've already hijacked. You know, when I use the word state governments have kidnapped the local governments, that was what I was referring to. If they're already doing that, you want to empower them with state police. Do you know what's going to happen next?
Private armies.
Yes, and you're going to have nobody running in office except
with the danger you're talking about. Sometimes I think the trick ought to be more or less like if we're able to, put into context what we're arguing about, like experience, like we just discussed. Yes, you need experience, but experience in what? In failure. So if somebody who is in his twilight years and has served this country for a long time, I will not allow the person to say that, I'm qualified to lead this country because I've served in this capacity, that capacity, that capacity. Because in a proper country, the very fact that you've served and you've been in government for as long as you have, and in politics for as long as you have, and I'm looking at the results of what you've done, that disentitles you from actually even having the audacity for you to come out and talk to people. Because what have you done?
The records speak for you.
Like in the political arena, somebody was saying at some point that we are young, we've come into the system and we're eager to take this or take that, and the person is complaining about in a hurry. And I said, look, the system as it is today, this is how we met it. You have been the ones that have been presiding over it, and you constructed and made it into the way that it is. And yet you're pointing accusing fingers at us for being forced to deal with certain circumstances which you created. And you refuse to allow any single positive action that is calculated to improve these bottom lines. And yet, at the same time, you constantly present the population with a fait accompli at the time at which certain things need to be done. Like, improving the electoral education you're talking about, or internal democracy in political parties. If you're going for an election in 2023, for example, and you have a political party today, you need to do your congresses, right? How do you do effective congresses when you don't even have a reliable register of members? How do you finance your political parties?
No, but you know that as regards that register of members,
yes.
Well, you're running a country that doesn't have registered citizens. A country
exactly.
that makes a budget without knowing who is budgeting for.
Exactly.
You don't know how many we are. So
no data.
You don't even have registered addresses.
Yes. So it comes down to the whole system within itself is rigged to actually allow some things happen.
Yeah.
When in 2015, when someone became agri minister, a guy from Benue State, and he was like, he has served as agri minister. And in 2015, the person he served under first, because he was agri minister, I think at age 32 or 33.
Yeah.
And he served under Saraki's late father as Senate leader in 79.
Yeah.
If I were in that position, the fact that it was his son who used to come in primary school uniform, who was now the Senate president in 2015 to ratify my appointment, I would have turned the appointment down.